What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kakash13542, aka YG Piranha, YG Fish. Your boy Marlon here with a bunch of stacked reviews here to talk about. I got quite a few games, some TV shows to talk about. We'll be talking about Skull and Bones, Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the TV shows we'll be talking about will be the live action of Avatar: The Last Airbender and the live action of Halo. So, enough said. Let's get right into it. All right, let's go, guys. So, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is basically it is a spiritual successor to Assassin's Creed Rogue and Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. The reason I say spiritual successor is because if you want a real pirating experience, go play those games. And the reason I say that is because these are a different style of pirating. It's it's more ship based. There's more looting. There's way more time spent on the water. And one of my best friends, Weeks, Professor Weeks, as you guys already know, he mentioned that when he played Black Flag and played Skull and Bones, he felt more of a pirate and he felt more of a ship manager in Skull and Bones and felt more like a pirate in Assassin's Creed. So that game came out so long ago. That game came out significantly. I think it came out roughly 10 years ago. It was Black Flag. And the team, the Ubisoft team that was working on Black Flag at the time, I guarantee you it's not the same team members. There might be one or two, maybe a handful of members that are the same. But I guarantee you it's not the same members that have been working on the game. So the initial vision of pirating was so successfully captivated in Assassin's Creed Black Flag that they got a sequel called Assassin's Creed Rogue, which a lot of people actually don't know about. That one's more of the lesser known Assassin's Creed games than all of the other titles. And then there hasn't really been a pirating style video game since. You can still do ship stuff in Assassin's Creed. You do have a boat in Odyssey. You do have a boat in Valhalla, but Ubisoft really hasn't done anything. Nobody's really done anything that's pirating based. So this is supposed to just be specifically you're killing people in the name of piracy. But you yourself being a pirate doesn't really happen because you are more of a ship manager in this one. You're more the captain of a ship. There's a lot of smuggling, there's a lot of raiding, but it's all ship smuggling and ship raiding as opposed to you, your character, going out and pirating things. So on land and with an actual character. Like you still get cosmetics and a whole bunch of stuff like that, and it's definitely a cosmetic and power based game, which I actually kind of enjoy because some games it's about being stronger than everybody else, and that's what it means to be a pirate is by spending the money and being stronger than everybody else. So I really do enjoy the vision that this game is. Is it perfect? No. If you want a different, more fulfilling style pirate legacy, so to speak, go play Assassin's Creed 4, go play Rogue. However, if you just want to just sail the open seas and you want to beat people up with cannons and you want to shoot things, and you want to shoot other ships and you want to get better ships and stuff like that, this is definitely the game for that. And it's a very, very fun game at doing that. You do feel like a pirate. You especially when you successfully like have like those moments where Pirates of the Caribbean where you see like, cannon shooting other ships and you got like three or four ships fighting you and you successfully kill them all, something like that. That aspect definitely is very successful and is very, very highly praised in the game. And I definitely recommend that that's what you're going for. Anything that's kind of like, you looting on land or anything like that, there's really not really much of that. It's more you being on the open sea and you ruling the Indian Ocean. So if you're all about being on the ocean and stuff like that, go for that game. If you want a new Ubisoft experience, go for that game. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Go ahead. However, the next two games that we're talking about are on a different level of multiplayer fun and different level of solo player fun. We'll just jump right into those. Helldivers 2. First off, if you're a fan of Starship Troopers in any kind of way, get this game because the trailer slash loading screen for the game, every time you turn it on, is the recruitment ad from Starship Troopers. Everybody knows how amazing that movie is, how great imperfect. That movie delivered on like just the American mindset of doing stuff for America and for liberty and blah blah blah. And it was just great on captivating that, as well as shooting giant bugs and stuff like that. This game is exactly like that. The game is 100% like that. The difference is that it's called Helldivers, and you also shoot giant robots. But the giant bugs are a thing. It's this game, $35 price point. It's a modest price point. Go spend $40. It's not even $60, $70. It's a $40 buy. It's probably one of the best live service games out there right now. The multiplayer in it is phenomenal. It's it delivers, man. It is a solid game. Like the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I find out more friends of mine have it, and we go in and we just go kill bugs. We go kill robots, and we just go have a blast and go shoot things, and it's a lot of fun. The best thing, honestly, the best gameplay aspect about it is the fact that there's friendly fire. Like you'd think you'd hate it. You'd think when you hear that a video game has friendly fire, you're like, man, that's lame. For this game, for the amount of explosions and the amount of pomp and circumstance that goes into the explosions and the amounts of payloads and stuff that you're shooting into the game, it makes sense that if you're too close to a giant payload barrage coming in from the sky from a giant spaceship or from a jet that's flying over, if you're within the blast radius and you die, that makes sense. Like, and it kind of makes it more comical that you blow up your friends by accident because you're not trying to blow up your friend. There's a whole bunch of bugs. You're trying to kill all these bugs and stuff like that. You're trying to survive. All of a sudden, you end up blowing your friend, and it's kind of more funny than aggravating. Other games, it would be aggravating, but for how mayhem and crazy and how fantastic this game is, it literally adds just so much more to the fact that you can just blow your friends up. Like one of my buddies, we were playing last night. He ended up like shooting me so he could pick up my resource so that he could spite me so he could have all the resources. And it's just funny that you can just do that. Like it was great. It was hilarious. It's a very, very fun multiplayer game. I don't think I've played it by myself. I think I've played it with friends and only with friends. And it's worth every penny. Like there's a $20 like extra battle pass you can pay into, and you just play the game and you can unlock stuff for the game. Like you unlock better guns, you unlock better skins, like better armors. It's a lot of fun. Like, and with you paying $55, $60 to get the full version of the game, as opposed to paying $60 and then $20 to $40 for, more season pass bundles and stuff like that, it allows for the game to be at that modest price point to actually be a AAA title game and still be affordable. And I feel like that's going to set the bar. Maybe not in the immediate future, but hopefully it sets ripples to let people know, hey, we don't need to charge people $60 for a game. Hell, if we actually charge a little bit cheaper, we might actually get more players to play it because we have more people feeding into the game. I know there's people that are upset about Tekken 8 and how Tekken 8 had a shop and now you got to spend money to get more stuff. But as the interviewer said in Tekken 8, it's kind of hard to fund these games without having money constantly pouring into the game. Like if you want more content, you want more characters, you want more skins, you want more features, you want better mechanics, you want more updates. It costs money to keep all these machines on it. These people are working on to take the time to do this all. It's a lot more expensive to make a game and to maintain a game nowadays than what it used to be. Helldivers is pointing out that they don't have to charge people for full price for a game and still can give people full content. Like, it's unfortunate, but they're comparing this game to Payday 3 and how Payday 3 has been around for much longer than Helldivers and has gotten much less updates. Payday 3 is still needing much more tender love and care in order to be the next step up that we want it to be. Meanwhile, Helldivers 2 over here is getting constant updates, and there's just a lot of negativity for Payday 3 for that. However, at the same time, these are two completely different game studios, and you just have to be able to understand that, like, when it comes to these games like Helldivers 2 will be more prominent, will be more successful due to the style of game that it is, and due to the multiplayer aspect that it actually drew in. It did a very good job doing that. If you're a PC player or a PlayStation player and you're looking for another game, I don't care if you're a third person, first person shooter, if you're looking for a new shooter to play with your friends, go pick up Helldivers 2. Go do it. $35. It's worth it. Enjoy. Now, after that rant, I do apologize. I kind of got stuck on it because that game was a lot of fun. But we're gonna transition over to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is part two out of three of the entire remake series that they're doing for Final Fantasy VII, so they can give us the full-fledged story, and it's it's amazing. It's first, it's the best looking game I've ever seen. Like the last one is the best looking game I've ever seen. This one is the best looking game I've ever seen. I know there's things online, people complaining that in performance mode the graphics drop, and it's like it's still the best looking game out there, guys. Like I understand that you want your graphics to be super awesome in performance mode. I think it's great that Final Fantasy is choosing to drop a patch soon to address that, but at the same time, like it's still the best looking game out there. Period. The game is phenomenal. The game it continues the story very, very well. Especially because they're adding a little bit more to spoiler, of course, they're adding more to Sephiroth's character and to Cloud's character due to the fact that Advent Children is now being implemented into the storyline as opposed to just being a subsequent secondary sequel storyline to Final Fantasy VII to give everybody one love for the franchise in this game in particular, and two some kind of closure to the game. But with that being said, they chose to alter Sephiroth and to alter these things, thus allowing for kind of a more full-fledged story that makes more sense. Um, the combat is bliss. The graphics are bliss. The gameplay is something else. Like if you've played previous Final Fantasy games, if you've played 15, if you've played 16, it takes on the best notes of both of those games and puts them in this one. With the free roaming aspect, with all the missions you can do, with riding the chocobo, summoning the chocobo, and how the chocobos look, to how large the game itself is, especially in comparison to remake, because remake was large but it was also sequestered in a sense that like they needed to get to this point of the story of the game and this point of this in the story to be able to get you to enjoy the free roam that they're at now, but they had to drive they had to drive getting into blowing up Shinra, what happened with all of that, and figuring out the fallout with Avalanche, and that entire process had to play itself out the way that it did. The game, I haven't gotten very far in the story because I'm spending so much time just doing everything else. Like, it's probably one of the best crafting mechanics in a video game I've ever experienced, especially with, the thing about Final Fantasy is that you get experience for everything. Every time you do something new, you get experience in for your party and for your character. And they definitely make it more of a party style game than they did in the last one. For sure, because of the fact that you have to level up your party and there's synergy attacks and there's just things you have to craft to so that you don't have to rely on your spells and stuff like that. Or if you want to go to a bench, you have to use a cushion to sit on a bench because the bench is damaged. So in order to make it more comfortable, you have to sit on something comfortable. It just it they I'm not entirely sure if these are elements from the original game. Some of them feel like they could be, like the cushion thing and the synergy attacks. At the same time, there could just be new elements to this game because this game has evolved so much through the fan base and through the love of the franchise. So, if you haven't picked up Final Fantasy VII, and you need a new single player game to play, like, don't worry about story. The storyline is already convoluted as it is. So, if you get lost, like, people who already follow the storyline play the game already get lost. It's already hard enough to talk about. So don't worry about the game itself being like invested storyline wise. If you are a PlayStation owner and you need a new single player game to play, go get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's out. It's amazing. It's phenomenal, and I highly recommend it. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna transition over to TV shows. The two TV shows that I want to talk about. I'm gonna end with the other one because I'm gonna start with the live action version of Halo, and it is kick ass. It is so much fun to watch. Like Halo, I've probably said this in the past, but Halo 2 was the first M-rated game that I was allowed to play. My parents purchased it for me. I begged them to purchase it for me. They actually did. I loved it. I've been a Halo fan ever since. I've read every single Halo book. I've played every single Halo game. I've played all the stories. As of last year or the year before, I actually beat Halo 1 and beat Halo 2 finally, and then actually replayed Halo 3 recently. So like I've over the last couple years before I started streaming all these other games, I was playing Halo with my buddy Tyler. So like I've played all of the games. I know the story. And for the TV show to encompass as much originality from these pieces is amazing. Like, there's already so many stories that have already been told, and they're able to tell their own story with as much lore and as much background knowledge for people to get. Like, if you don't like the fact that he took off his helmet in like one of the first episodes, like it might have been the first episode, if not the second episode, then you just don't like the TV show. You just don't like Halo. Like, it's supposed to be palpable for a bunch of people. I like that there's a face to John for the first time. At the same time, when you play the video games, it's okay that there's no face to John because John is supposed to be you, the player. You, the player, are supposed to be Spartan 117. So that's why they never show his face in the video games. So in the TV show, it's totally fine that they expose his face, and the actor does a great job. The combat sequences in season two are phenomenal. Like, my buddy Sean, my buddy Bao, he told me, he's like, if you think they're badass in their armor, to wait till you see Spartans fight without their armor. And I got to that episode like the day of that he mentioned it to me. He mentioned it to me that morning, and I watched the TV show later that day, and it was phenomenal for me to enjoy what he's talking about as a fan of Halo. Both fans of Halo, and we're both enjoying it. Like, the guns are great. Every time you see something on screen that you've seen in the video game, it looks just like it does in the video game. It looks possibly even better because they put it to scale. You know, the gun in the video game might be this big. In a TV show, it's this big. And that's why, because they're shooting giant bullets that are this big. Like, it's just the way that it is. Like, the plasma damage is done so fluidly. Like, you see them take plasma and it flashes right over the Marines and they instantly just, like, die. Like, it obviously hurts the Spartans, but regular Marines can't take plasma. It's plasma. Like, they do a really, really good job with the entire TV show. The storyline is great. It's a great original storyline, and that's the thing. That's what you have to give them credit. Is that there's a whole bunch of books that have already come out. There's a whole bunch of video games that have already come out. The video game has a bunch of twists and turns with the storyline, and for them to still finite their own story with all this other stuff going on in the Halo universe that already exists, kudos to them. It's a great show. The action sequences are great. The music is great. The acting is not bad. Like, it's not the best acting in the world. Like, sometimes it's a little stiff, but they're soldiers, so I can see why it's a little stiff, but sometimes it's a little stiff. It's not a bad stiff, but sometimes it's a little stiff. I just really, really recommend this show for anybody who is a fan of Halo. If you want a new action style TV show and you're not too invested in knowing the story of Halo before going into it, definitely go watch it. If you know the story of Halo and everything like that, don't hold too much weight to that story before watching this show because it's an original story based off that universe. The number one thing that they're able to do, they're able to use all the names correctly and they're able to make the visuals look correct. Like, go from there. And that's the best thing about the show. Halo live action, Paramount Plus, go watch it. I believe there's 6 episodes now. I'm currently was watching the newest episode earlier today. I didn't finish it, but it was really good, and I plan on keeping up with the show. So definitely go watch that. The last thing I'll be talking about is one of the best things, one of my favorite subjects to always talk about is Avatar: The Last Airbender. The live action TV show has finished. It's done. They've dropped 8 episodes all at once at the end of February, and it was great. It took me a while to watch it, not because I didn't like it or anything. I was just busy. Like, it just came out at a time that I was busy, and I just wasn't able to watch it immediately. However, I loved every second of it. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. I can compare myself to the main actor of Aang. Like, the main actor of Aang, he says in his interview that he watched the show 26 times. I'm pretty sure I watched the show about the same amount. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not kidding. When this show came out, me and my dad ended up watching it the day of that it got released. The first episode, the day of that it got released. And then we followed it episode by episode since. It's the only true TV show that we watched on live TV as a family. Me, my mom, and my dad. My brother and sister weren't that interested into it, so it was just the three of us. But it was still family members of mine that we would watch the TV show week by week, watching this unfold. It got to a point to where I would rewatch episodes on my own and then figure out when to rewatch the episodes when Nickelodeon would have all the splash tidbits on. I would literally watch every episode at least 20 times, 20, 30 times, every single one. How I got to that point was I eventually had a DVR that recorded the entire show. My parents hated me. My parents were literally mad at me because 80% of the DVR would be episodes of Avatar, and then they would have their shows that they would want to watch of new episodes, and I would just have repeats of Avatar on, and I'd just be sitting there just watching Avatar, just rewatching it, and rewatching it, and rewatching it, and rewatching it, and rewatching it, because it was so good. It was the best it is the best cartoon, hands down, ever made, period, point blank. It's not an anime because it's made by Nickelodeon, it's made by American, 100% not Japanese. Like, it might have Asian and other worldly influences into it, but it is not Japanese made. It is not made by a Japanese company in any way. It is a cartoon. That I will stand on that forever. It's the best cartoon ever. It is the cartoon that bridged cartoons and anime to be mainstream. It is like that combination of where it's like that comparison, that combination, excuse me, of where Avatar: The Last Airbender is basically Anakin Skywalker, to where he's on the Council of Jedi Masters, and he's on the Council, but he's not a master. Like, Avatar is on the level of anime, but it's not an anime. That's how good it is. The TV show, 91%, solid A minus. You can't get that extra 9% unless you watch the original cartoon. The reason that is because the original cartoon is the original. If you want the goofiness, if you want the original story, if you want everything to make sense, if you want all the characters to be more fully fleshed out and everything, go watch the cartoon. If you want a still really, really good version that's live action, that unfortunately they made a joke about how the movie that came out is so bad. How can you make a good TV show? But this TV show is good, period, regardless if you compare it to the movie, because it's a great show. They have all the characters, they have all the elements. I don't know how many times I was watching and literally my girlfriend was upset that I'd be sitting there literally being like, this is different. This is different. This is when they go to Kyoshi Island. Okay, this is when they combine this episode, and this episode, and this episode, and they would combine, 2, 3, 4 episodes together. Like when they met Jet, and how Jet had to attack, instead of attacking random villagers, he attacked the people that was from the Northern Air Temple. They didn't have the Northern Air Temple. The people from the Northern Air Temple, the scientist and his son who was disabled, they met in Omashu. So they had it all happen in Omashu, which makes sense. More of a centralized journey than backtracking, but at the same time, you still have all of the characters and all of the main essences of all of the characters. Sure, they might have introduced Azula really early. At the same time, they didn't compromise her in any way. Like, she's still hunting after the Avatar. They still established her as the best. She knows she's the best, and they established her in a way that doesn't compromise her character. Same thing with Ozai. They established Ozai so well. I was just like, wow, like, I'm kind of mad you had to wait till season 3 in the TV show till you see Ozai and actually really experience Ozai, because they show you his influence and his presence and how just truly bad he is and how just harsh of a man he is. Like, that battle between that Agni Kai between him and Zuko was great. Like, in the show, like, Zuko didn't want to fight him, and I'm glad that they actually did have a little fight sequence, because Zuko still had weakness of some kind, but I'm glad that they had this fight sequence. I love that Uncle Iroh looked away, as he does, because as he's telling the story, he goes, I looked away, and he looks away, and Azula just stares like this. Like, they have all of those elements in the show. I could go on and on and on and on. I really could. I can do this all day, guys. I don't think you understand. They have so many of the prime elements of the cartoon in this show that it's impossible to be bad. It's impossible for the show to be bad. If they keep the show at this caliber, it is amazing. Sure, they might have changed a couple things. The only thing I really don't agree with was how Aang didn't want Katara to fight in the season finale. I'm a little upset about that, but at the same time, they're really trying to hold on to the fact that he doesn't like the fight and everything like that. So it is what it is. That's the only thing of the show that I was like, didn't like that. Everything else, I was like, I can see how they did that. I see how they did that. I like how they did that. That was cool. That was awesome. Like Iroh, I don't know the guy's name, but the voice of Uncle Iroh is also the voice of I cannot think from Samurai Jack. I'm really, really sorry. Sorry. Aku. Shapeshifting master of darkness, Aku. Same voice actor, legendary voice actor. Like to have somebody embody his voice acting prowess as well as the character itself, which was delivered by the voice actor, mind you. Like he did such a good job. The live action version of Iroh is priceless. Like they have the blue spirit. They have everything, guys. Like they have all of the main points of the show. They have Admiral fucking Zhao. Like Admiral Zhao is one of my favorite bad guys in that show because he's not an honorable man at all. He's just looking for glory and found the easiest way to it and happened to be able to convince the Fire Lord to give him a whole bunch of resources to be able to steal this glory. Zuko just happens to be persistent and doesn't give up. So, like, the scene where he's all like, remember your breath, Prince Zuko. I was like, they better say that. And they said it in the live action. I was like, let's go. Like, I was like, as long as in every episode they have the main points of the episodes, go ahead. Like, it made more sense to trap Aang and Katara in the spirit world than to have them stuck in a swamp sucking on frogs. If you really think about it, them in the swamp sucking on frogs is one of those episodes that you call an anime that's a filler. Like it literally it just fills the gap. They have this going on. The important part of that episode is that Aang gets captured by the blue spirit and frees, and you find out the blue spirit is Zuko. So there's a whole bunch of emotions between Zuko and Aang and blah blah blah. That is the important part of that episode. It does not matter that he gets captured because he's trying to save his friends from the spirit world, or he's trying to save his friends from sucking on frogs so they don't die from being sick. As the point is that he's trying to save his friends. The main focal points are given. Like, sure, they might not have had Aang turn into Avatar Roku when he went to the Fire Temple, but he didn't need to. The point is that he's talking to the avatars and he's getting information from them. He doesn't have to like the information, but he's getting the information. Like the show, like I said, the show is a solid 91%. If you want anything better than what the show is, you watch the cartoon. But it is a good version of the cartoon. I have to say, seriously, watch the cartoon. If you have not seen the cartoon first and you're interested in this show, watch the cartoon first because then you know where the show is coming from and you know what the show is doing. And then you know what differences I'm talking about that aren't bad. They're good differences. They make sense. One of the best things about the show is that they had the opening scene. Opening episode, I guess. The whole opening episode was the Firebenders versus the Air Nomads in the invasion during Sozin's comet. They never showed that. They just said that Sozin wiped everybody out, and while he wiped everybody out, Aang happened to be trapped in the ocean and happened to not be found by Sozin. However, them showing the air nomads fight back was just awesome. It was awesome seeing that much airbending, especially because you know that there is none. There is none in the entire show outside of Aang, as opposed to there's a bunch of earthbenders, a bunch of firebenders, and a bunch of waterbenders. So that was one of the most original things that they could have done, and I loved it. Like it's the show, guys. It's the show. They have the same original soundtrack and music that is in the TV show that also rounds out into its own melody. Like Gran in the first episode goes into the whole opening spiel that Katara says in the opening of every single TV show cartoon episode. Like they have Brian Konietzko's and Michael Dante DiMartino's name in the credits every single time you turn it on. It has the OP Orange Nickelodeon Splash, and in partnership with Nickelodeon, it has everything that M. Night Shyamalan's did not. And that is why M. Night Shyamalan's is bad. Because he basically made a movie by himself with a story that wasn't his and was like, I know how to make it better, as opposed to using the story and making tweaks to it that make sense, especially on a palpable scale. When you have it go to Netflix, it's globally. Like people didn't, not everybody watches Nickelodeon. There's more people that watch Netflix than watches Nickelodeon. Absolutely. And you have to palpatize that to a larger audience. And I believe that Netflix did that. Avatar: The Last Airbender, go watch it. Go go Kuzan, go everything. That show is amazing. Like and I like I said, 91%. It can't be better than the cartoon, but they definitely do a damn good job. All right, y'all. That's it for right now. I'm not entirely sure what I'll be talking about next because I'm not entirely sure what's coming out or what's new, but you'll be getting a review from me here within the next few weeks. Also, if you don't have anything to do next weekend, go down to DTC Marriott and go down to Call Out Anime Fest because I will be there. That is one of the conventions that I work. Definitely have a blast just with whatever you do next weekend. But if you don't have anything else to do, go do that. All right, y'all. This is your boy Fish signing out.